It's a cube, it's a cube, it's a default cube.
I'm fully aware that we put all these nodes together, but looking back at them, it's like, how the fuck? It's so confusing. Well, we don't need to go back. That's kind of the nice thing. It's kind of like we put the Lego blocks together, we present it to somebody else. We're like, we are smart. And they're like, how do you put it together? And then you're like, maybe if you think about it a bit harder, you'll figure it out. Anyways, what do we have so far? We have a kind of working generator that makes the asteroids and the cube dodges them, and sometimes it kind of clips them, and that's all right because we can fix it. But the biggest downside to this, visually, is that we have a fucking cube dodging it, whereas it should be a ship. And wow, we need to really fix this. I feel like it's clipping way too often, and we'll get back to that. But we have a cube. We want it to be a ship. And I just want to say, before we model this thing, I am not a modeler. In the same way that guy's not a rapper, you know? If you were born in a time that, I don't know, maybe Gen Z does or doesn't understand. I don't know what Gen Z... I am Gen Z, actually. Either way, in the same way, I'm not a modeler. So let's just kind of bear with each other. We'll make a really shitty ship together. So what I'm thinking is we're just going to do some super simple subdivision surface workflow. So cube, subdivision surface. It's beautiful. Let's make it look like a ship. So the way to do this is we want it to kind of have this kind of like cockpit thing, and also, what else do we want? What is a cockpit? It's kind of like an armpit, but for your cock. It's kind of like the gooch is what it's describing. We want it to have a cockpit, and it should also have this kind of streamlined fighter jet looking thing. So I'm thinking, let's take the cube, and we're going to extrude it, and we're going to do all this in a subsurf workflow. So here we have a corn, yep, and we want it to look like a ship. So we extrude, like this. We don't want proportional editing quite yet. We want this. I'm going to kind of move this down so it kind of has this streamlined look I was talking about. Let's also add in this cockpit, which I'm just going to make using a window. So we inset it. Actually, I'm thinking before we do that, let's make this a bit longer. So feel free to make your own ship and just fully ignore what I'm doing here, but I'll try my best. So we inset to kind of make this circle. We E to extrude, and that's going to, let's actually visualize it like this. It's going to make this kind of depression here, which if we inset, is going to be a bit more dramatic. Actually, let's extrude it a bit more, and then inset. So that's kind of like a window, right? We just want to define it more with some loop cuts here, some loop cuts there. Yeah, that looks like a toenail, or a toe with a toenail, whatever. Let's give it some wings, right? That's what it's missing. It's going to look good when we add wings. So I'm going to select these two faces. By the way, this button lets us kind of visualize what it looks like, the face selection with subdivision surface. Either way, I'm going to extrude, which kind of gives it wings. Right click to reset it, well, which lets me scale on the y-axis. And yeah, something like that looks okay. We want to scale on the z-axis to make them thinner. Like that. Also add in, or you know what, we can also make the tips of these thinner. I don't know what I'm doing, to be honest with you. But I think it'll look good towards the end. So get this triangular shape. I'm going to add in some loop cuts to better define these wings, which we can move together by scaling on the y-axis, something like that. Okay. Okay, hopefully we'll get there. Let's also take this face, move it back a bit. No, extrude it to give it a bit more depth. Wow, that's a thick boy. Maybe that's why it looks so weird. Take the bottom face. And this time with proportional editing, so when we move stuff, it moves a bunch of stuff together. Make it kind of like that. Okay, it's looking better. I think the main thing, though, is it doesn't have a very streamlined look. It just kind of looks like a thumb, like I said. So scale it like that, and that will make it feel more like a fighter thing. Yeah, that's already looking better. What else can we do? We can move some pieces back and forward just until it looks like a fast-moving type of deal. And I guess, ooh, that's it. The curvature. Yeah, that looks good. Maybe that was a bit aggressive, though. But we want to make sure it looks good from the top view, since that's what we're going to be looking at. Let's also add in a second circle, since I know I want to have this blinking light. So I just inset, extrude. Wow, that is too big. Let's inset more. Extrude, inset to make it well-defined. Loop cut. And this is going to be our blinking light, which is going to add some life to this. And what else can we do to make this not look like garbage? Shade Smooth will help. Let's make this subdivision 3. And let's see. We want this thing to be rotating side to side. It looks okay. Like it doesn't. What can we do? Let's just try moving some edges until something happens. Ooh, that's good, actually. And let's also work on the back. And I think soon we're going to be done modeling this. And we're just going to give it some materials and be like, oh, yes, it's done. Something like that. So it really depends on the look you're going for, but I think this is all right. Like, it doesn't look awful, right? This is the kind of thing, like, if you're a concept designer, you tend to probably sketch a bunch of stuff before you do it for real. So this isn't even as good as one of the sketches, to be honest. But we'll make it work. So there's our ship. I'm going to recenter it, so set origin to volume, so that when we rotate it, it looks like it's actually going on its axis. Beautiful. And now let's just move this off to the side. Let's see if we can just replace this thing. So the cube. Let's see if this is going to look better or worse. So with our geonodes, instead of this cube that we instance a single time, moment of truth, object info. What object? Let's rename it so we can actually ship, more like shit. Let's import that in. So put that there. Use that instead of the cube is what's getting instanced. And do we want this relative? No, we want it original so that it's going to be at the position of the cube, not off to the side, like that. And then we take it and we scale it down. So again, it's going to have the same logic as the cube, but now it's just going to look a bit different. Let's make it a bit bigger. Yes, that is definitely clipping. But in general, let's see the look of it. Yeah, that's okay. There's some improvement that could be done, but that's workable. How fast is this going, by the way? Let's slow this down, change the seed value for now, just so we can get a feel for this. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay. Let's add in some things. First of all, let's make it, not look like garbage. I don't know. we'll give it some materials. So on this, whatever materials we do here, it should inherit on this version. So we can just kind of focus on this. I'm going to make some materials. So the first one is going to be our main material, let's say. And let's also have a material for the window, the cockpit, and then one for the blinking light. So I'm going to have a glass material. And I want to make sure all this works in Eevee, since there's no reason to render this in cycles. I just want it to play and render at the same speed, essentially. So this is going to be glow. Let's start with the glass. So the glass, we want to make sure appears only where the glass is. So we select this, Control plus to increase the selection. Say we want to assign the glass material on this selection. So now whenever we, do the thing, it's going to be only on that. So for this one, I make it transmissive. And I make it reflective. What does this look like from the camera view? That actually looks kind of like glass. Yeah, we don't need to think about it too much. That's good. And then for the glow, we want to, same as last time, select the thing, Control plus, assign the glow. And for this one, this is a good place to add in a bit of dynamic feel for this. So we can have this light blinking randomly and stuff. So for this, I'm going to pick a color, probably red, since that's what I did originally. So we're going to have a red light that is going to glow a lot. Maybe it should be, in fact, like one of the brightest things in this image. So maybe a glow of like 6 or something. Like that. And then for the main, and we'll make it blink in a second, but I'm just trying to pick colors for this. So this is going to be our ship color, which isn't doing anything. Is that right? Oh, yes, that's the subsurface color. Fucking idiot. Okay. Maybe it should be some shade of maybe like a little purple. Kind of depends on the look you're going for, but I think... Ooh, yeah, that's a good color scheme. This kind of bluish purple is the way to go. And maybe let's make it a bit brighter. Okay, so we have a basic ship material. It looks video gamey. Let's make the thing blink. So to make it blink, there's a lot of ways to do this. Kind of the fastest way is me not talking as I explain it, but the next fastest way is using a noise texture. So how do we get this to blink using a noise texture? Well, I'm going to use a one-dimensional noise, which basically says, as I move this, it's just going to output a number, as you can see right here. This number can dictate whether or not the thing is glowing. How? Well, we say, what if this number is bigger than 0.5? Well, that's only going to happen some of the time, and it's going to look like it's blinking, right? So we put this on emission strength, we animate this, and we pick a good speed where it doesn't feel like it's blinking too quickly. So the slower this is, since this is a continuous thing, the better it might look. So now it's blinking quite slowly, and now we want to ask ourselves, generally should this be on, or generally should it be off? And by that I mean, the smaller this number is, the more likely it is to be blinking, because it's going to be, or to be on, because it's more than likely going to be greater than 0.3, and only sometimes it's going to blink off. In fact, maybe I should make it a bit bigger, so it actually, so something like that. Or do we want it to be the other way around, where it's so big, where most of the time it's going to be off, and then sometimes it blinks? Well, I think most of the time it should be on, I think. I think that's a good look for it. And maybe this is even a bit too slow. I want it to blink like this, and when it does blink, I want it to do it with an intensity, so it's going to be either 0 or 1. I want it to do it with an intensity of 6, so now it's 0 or 6. Yeah, so that adds a bit more of a dynamic feel to it. What else is going to make it dynamic? Well, the ship, we can make it like rotate for free. Like there's no reason to not. So where is it? I don't know. This is a mess. There we go. Object info. We can rotate it on its x-axis, this kind of tilting thing, and that's kind of like free animation. Probably not on the y-axis. That's not wise. Z-axis, also not wise. But x-axis, for free. And I'm thinking we could, do this whole noise thing, but let's make it nice and predictable. And maybe we could add in a bit of variation. So we do a sine function, so it's going to go back and forth wavy-like. Sine function, frame divided by 30. You know the drill by now. I'm not going to keep explaining it. Let's see what this looks like on the, well, not the rotation, just the x component. So boop, boop. So now it's going back and forth quite slowly. So let's make it go 3 times faster. That is still quite slow. There we go. Now it's going back and forth. It's a bit intense, and by a bit, of course, I mean a lot. Take it, multiply it. Wow. Maybe this is what we needed all along. It's kind of like a drill bit. Yes, this is what I needed. Can you see it? What do construction workers do? I don't know. Let's take the scale, bring it down. So it's doing it, but not by that much. Maybe a bit less. There we go. So now it's nice and dynamic. And I think because this glass material is like reflective, I don't know what it's reflecting, but maybe it will make it look a bit more dynamic. And I just realized, I think I did this on the original. I'm like, why does it look so bad? It can't be my fault. There is one more thing we can do actually to make this look good. So for the shit thing, for the main, instead of just having it be a single color, we can use a bit of a Fresnel or a layer weight, whatever you want. You can see this kind of gives it a nice look, kind of a spacey look. We can use this. So what I'm thinking is we're going to use this with a color ramp. We're going to have one of these be purple, but which one? Probably the one that's black. That one be purple, and then the rest be white. Let's see what that looks like. And we bring this highlight in. No. We want this kind of high contrast look. I want to be able to see both sections. Why is it so gradual? Maybe because we can change the Fresnel value to make it higher contrast, something like that. So that gives it a bit of a highlight, as you can see, which I think looks good, right? I mean, we could also give it like a different color. Maybe that's the way to go. Just so it has like this bright highlight, but it's also within the color scheme a little. Something like that. Make it a bit more gradual. And also one more thing to experiment with I don't think I will. But Fresnel versus layer weight or facing, does one look better? Let's find out. So facing looks like that. Fresnel looks like that. I think facing might be actually the way to go. Yet another instance where I'm figuring stuff out on the fly. This kind of looks like a GameCube controller almost. It's got the color scheme, and it looks like this weird alien thing, which the GameCube controller also has. So that's our ship. It looks okay, does it not? No? Well, too bad. What else can we do to make this dynamic? I'm thinking, okay, so we have this thing going up and down. Maybe we can scale this instead of by just some number. We could have it be relative to whether it's going up or down, maybe? I don't know if that's the way to go. We could have it be proportional to this noise. So what I mean by this is we go like that. And now the waviness is going to be not... oh, yeah. So it's going to be wavy now depending on the movement, it looks like. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Maybe we shouldn't do that. But just know that is an option. So we could have it be more wavy depending on where it is on this noise texture. And maybe we could even calculate velocity. And those are a bunch of cool ideas I'm not going to do. But there you go. So let's see what this looks like if we were to... So bloom is definitely something we want to keep enabled. This is not something. Ambient occlusion, why not? Let's see what this looks like. So that looks okay. I mean, like, honestly, we're going to add a ton of filtering on top of this to make it look more video gamey, but that's it, right? So we have a ship. Let's do a bit of collision avoidance since we do have a bit of clipping going on, as I said. I'm just going to do that by changing the asteroid size. So to do that, I need to find the asteroid. So there's our asteroid group, and we wanted to vary up the scale. What is going on here? This isn't where it is. Oh, it's connecting up here. We wanted to vary up the scale. Keep your node networks clean, guys. Don't be like me. We can. This is so cool. We can just kind of change this on the fly. We can change the maximum size to be a bit smaller, and that would just decrease the chance of clipping. So let's preview this for a bit. Yeah, seems to be working. And we'll pick a different seed value. 0. Well, that one just kind of went right through the asteroid. But in general, that should be kind of an unlikely event. Yeah, that generally seems to be working. So we could play around with the scale and stuff a bit more. But I think that's kind of the vibe. One issue, though, is if we enable motion blur with Eevee, we get this. The reason why is because of this material with the stars and all this. I don't know if we can actually disable motion blur per material. If not, or if we can, what am I trying to say? I want to be able to disable motion blur per that. I mean, I know we can do it per object, I believe. Can we even? I don't even know if we can. So either way, I'm going to disable motion blur. So there we go. We have our basic ship, and it's blinking, and it's going to be all right.